Hi, everyone. This is Angela Perfetti, and I'm here to talk to the group about stretch and flex. Before I do that, I just want to recognize everyone for helping us have only four recordable incidents in 2013. This is the lowest number of recordable incidents in company history and something that we can all be really proud of. It really demonstrates our commitment to safety, and we're well on our way to achieving zero incidents for the year. Okay, so I think there are a number of other things that we can do to achieve zero that we haven't tried yet. One of those is stretch and flex. These programs came out a few years ago and started popping up, and other companies have tried them. And what we're hearing is that they're getting very good results. So we went ahead and piloted the program last year at four of our projects, and we got really positive feedback from the folks who participated in the program and the ones who gave it. And we figured that we would go ahead and push it out to all the job sites and see what kind of outcome we get company wide. So what we're trying to do is have a positive impact on soft tissue injuries and being able to eliminate them. The soft tissue injuries that I'm talking about are those that involve your muscles and your tendons and ligaments. And so just as a football player doesn't jump out of the car and run to play a football game on the field, the same holds true for our workers. Our workers shouldn't do that either. So for now, the program is only for SpawGlass employees, and we estimate that it's going to take between 10 and 15 minutes to perform all the stretches. It should be done every morning while we're doing our JSAs, and that way everyone will be thinking about working safely and being mentally and physically prepared for the day. All right, so what I'd like for you to do is go to Teambase. There's going to be a copy of the guideline. Go to Teambase, the safety page, documents and forms, and look for stretch and flex. This guideline is going to introduce you to the program. It's a 3-page document, and it kind of gives a preface to the program and then goes through each of the 9 exercises. It's also available in Spanish, so we're going to go ahead and plan on launching that in April. If you would now, please go ahead and pause the video, get a copy of the guideline, and next we're going to hear from Damon Read. He's a doctor of physical therapy with Concentra. They're one of our longtime healthcare partners. He's going to go through all the exercises with us, one at a time. We feel like he's got some really valuable information to share with the group. So let's tune in and listen. One last thing I want to say is that I realize that this is all videotaped, not leaving the opportunity for folks to ask questions. What I'd like to do is hear from you. If you have any questions about the program or the guidelines or any of the information that Damon presented, email me, give me a phone call, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible with all the answers. So thanks for tuning in. Good luck executing the program, and let's all try our hardest to see if we really can make it through an entire year with no recordable incidents. Thank you. And we've asked the folks from Concentra, who have been our longtime health partners, to come in. We've got Damon Read. He's a physical therapist and a doctor of physical therapy. And so, Damon, if you would join me.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's so good to have you with us.
Glad to be here. Really glad to be here.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Damon. He's going to go through the program with you, and then we'll take any questions that you have at the end of the program. So thank y'all for tuning in, and I'll turn it over to you.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. First of all, I think we're on mute. Are we on mute?
We are.
Okay. Can everybody hear me okay? If you could just nod yes or no. So we're good? Okay. First of all, I want to say thanks for having me here today. I'm a firm believer in these programs. I was explaining before when I got here, there's 2 parts of my job, one of which is when somebody gets hurt and you get injured, you come and see me, and what we do is we are moving pattern specialists. So a lot of times when you get hurt, you start developing bad moving patterns. So when you come in, you come see me, what I do is I get you from a bad moving pattern into a good moving pattern. A, to take the pain away, but then B, to get you back to a functional, what we call as a functional level from where you were before. We like to say a lot of the patients we see are industrial athletes, like we talked about before. A lot of the employees that you have are going to be doing a lot of lifting and carrying and pushing and pulling, just like a lot of athletes do. The only difference is that we look at is the age range is going to not necessarily be in the same age range that you may think of with athletes, and then also the shape. A lot of us are not necessarily in the same shape as if we were professional athletes. So it is very important that we make sure that we're keeping all of our muscles stretched and strengthened properly, which leads me to this point. This is the second part of my job that I enjoy so much. If I can prevent an injury from happening, then I've also done my job. So either A, prevent it from happening, or after they're hurt, get you back to a better functional level. But trust me, people would much rather see me here when they're not in pain as opposed to having an injury happen and then coming and seeing me. All we're trying to do is honestly decrease the risk of having an injury. This is one step. We want to make sure that all of our muscles are at proper length, that they're stretched out, and that they're at proper strength before we do any kind of lift, carry, push, or pull. I'm also a firm believer in out of sight, out of mind. And when I say that, by adding or incorporating a stretch and flex program or a proper stretching program, you're keeping it in your employee's mind of, hey, let's think about how we do these activities today. Let's do them safely. Then you know not only are you stretching, but you're reinforcing the importance of proper lifting techniques, taking your time, making sure that you're not trying to go that you got clear paths, that you're decreasing your risk of having an injury. And you can tell your employees if they've ever had an injury, trust me, they don't want to experience that, whether it be from a back, whether it be from a shoulder, knee, ankle, anything. Typically, when I give these, I have a lot of employees, I ask the question, have you ever had an injury? And the ones that they raise their hand, I said, do you ever want to have it again? They say no, and they're always the ones that listen most intently to these programs. So you definitely want to reinforce the importance of this program is to decrease the chance of anybody having to come and see me. Saying that, when you do this program, you want to make sure that your employees are listening to their body. So if they feel any pain whatsoever, that whole no pain, no gain argument, you need to tell them to throw that out the window. If they feel any pain when they're doing the stretch, they need to stop that immediately and not continue. I also recommend that if they continue to feel any kind of pain when they do that motion, that they notice throughout the day, that they need to go see their family physician, their personal physician, and explain, I've noticed I've been doing these motions and I've been having pain with them. You're going to notice, too, when you do these programs, a lot of times people, when they stretch, they're going to want to make sure they do the stretch really quickly. Honestly, when you do a stretch does not feel good. So a lot of times I have some really fast-counting patients in our clinic when we stretch. But you want to reinforce the importance of making sure that you're counting slowly. And that's one reason I'm here today is I'm going to kind of take you through the whole program, kind of show you the proper form and the proper cadence. Because if you don't do the right amount of cadence or you go too fast when you count, you're actually not stretching the muscle long enough to keep the muscle at its proper length. So what happens is when you have muscles and you do stretching programs, our muscles are generally pretty tight. And so when we do a stretch, we lengthen them to get them to where they want to be. But if we don't hold them for a long enough period of time, when we quit doing the stretch, they automatically go right back to where they started. And so what we've just done is pretty much been null and void. So a lot of times when we do these stretches, I'm going to say hold it for an 8 count. It's going to need to be a good 8 count, which is 1001, 1002, 1003. You are going to have some employees that are going to try to count 2, 4, 6, 8, and unfortunately that's just not going to be appropriate for them. The other thing you want to make sure whenever you're doing the stretching that you're going to see a lot of times people want to quit breathing, We have to reinforce this all the time in the clinic. We want you to breathe. It's important to breathe. It's just a natural reaction that when you're stretching, like I said, that it doesn't feel good, that you may hold your breath. A lot of times that's why we're going to ask that you have them count out loud. That way you know when you're doing, or count with you, that when they're doing their cadence, that they're counting at the right tempo, but then also that they're breathing. We're also going to ask that when you're holding a stretch, that you don't have a whole lot of bouncing going on. Once again, like I said, a stretch is not a comfortable feeling, but we want to make sure that we have that muscle at a certain position for a certain amount of time, or else everything that we're trying to do, we're not accomplishing. One question that will come up to you, though, I will tell you this, it comes up every time I do this. Because a stretch does not feel good, a lot of the employees may come up to you and say, well, when I'm doing the stretch, it hurts. There is a difference between discomfort, which you feel in a stretch, and pain. And so what I typically tell people is that we have a 2-point pain rule that we have in our clinic. And that means if you're doing a stretch, and let's say you're at a pain level of 0, and you do a stretch, and you feel a pain level of a 1 or a stretching sensation, that's normal. That's okay. You want to make sure that you continue doing the exercise, doing the stretch, and what you may find out is at the end of it, you're not going to have that sensation anymore. If you go up to a 2 or a 3 and it doesn't feel like a stretch, or it feels like a sharp pain, a burning pain, a fiery pain, that's not a stretch. That's different from discomfort. So at that point in time, I normally say if you're at a 2 and it's going up and it's sharp burning or shooting, you want to make sure that that's when the employee that stops that stretch. And then they want to monitor that position and make sure if they continue to feel that pain with that position that they go see their family physician. Does that kind of clear up? Because I know those are some of the questions that may be posed to you when you're doing this. So what I want to do today is just make sure that we kind of go through each individual exercise. I know there's going to be 9 exercises here on the Stretch and Flex program. When we do these two, we try to incorporate it where it becomes efficient. I mean, I understand you guys, you don't have 30 minutes or 45 minutes to do a stretching program every day. So we want to make sure that we get this as efficient as possible, but we want to make sure that we get it into a routine and that we're doing it every day and that we're getting the results that we're looking for. So typically when I'm looking at the program, it may say on there 3 to 5, you have the option of doing 3 to 5 reps. I'm going to do 3 here and then recommend leaving it up to you and to your employees what works best for you as far as repetitions. I will say you are going to need to have at least 3 repetitions when you do this to make sure that we're getting the muscles at the certain length for the certain amount of time that they need to be at their length in order to stretch them. When I also do this presentation, I may incorporate it. I may kind of tell you the reasons why we're doing the stretch, and I may incorporate the muscles that we're doing the stretch, and then any kind of bad reactions that somebody may feel if they're doing the stretch wrong. So, is everybody ready?
Let's do it.
I'm not used to actually doing it on television. Usually I have everybody up and everybody's going to be stretching with me, but I want you to make sure the most important thing is that you can see me and make sure that you see the form, because form and counting are going to be the 2 most important aspects of this stretching program. If you don't get them down right, you're not getting the results of what we're really looking for here. So the first thing we're going to have, I call it raising the roof. On here it just says lifting your hands toward the sky. We do this in our clinic all the time. What you're really looking at doing here with this stretch is you have a lat muscle under here. You may have heard it all the time. Guys refer to it as their wings or their wing muscles. If this muscle gets extremely tight, what happens is whenever we do any kind of overhead reaching and working up here, we may start to notice we have pinching in our shoulders. What this muscle does is it brings our arm bone in and rotates it inward and down. When it does that, you have a tendon that goes along the top of your muscle, and it can pinch with the top of your shoulder. They call that impingement. So it's very important that we keep this muscle here, these lats, stretched out. So all it's going to be, and I'll kind of come this way so you can see me, you want to make sure that whenever your employees are doing this, they have a good, stable base of support. So make sure their legs are shoulder width apart. You don't want to be here because sometimes that can cause them to kind of move in different directions, and we don't want that either. So they want to have a good stable base of support, maybe slightly bend the knees. You don't want any arching of the back on this one too. You want to make sure that the back is straight. All you're going to do is bring your arms up, interlock your thumb. You're going to keep your elbows straight, and then you're going to shrug your shoulders up. And I always say when you do this, you want to make sure, act like you're reaching for a $100 bill. That'll get a good stretch in there. And then the count is 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, and relax. I'm going to go over it again, kind of show you. I'm going to do 3 reps of this. It says 3 to 5. I'm going to do 3 on this, so we can kind of get an idea of timing. So now we're going to do it again. Make sure I got a good base of support. Elbows are straight. Interlock your thumb, reaching for the sky. Right here, shrugging the shoulders. 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, and relax. Kind of stretch it out a little bit again. Bring your hands up, interlock your thumbs, elbows straight, shrug the shoulders up, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, and relax. That's the first exercise. So now the next exercise, what we want to do, and I'm going to rotate to the side so you can see. I might get a little bit closer too, just so you can see. These are just going to be simple shoulder rolls. Now what it has on here is it wants you to do it 5 to 7 times. I'm going to recommend that you do it 5 times, but three reps on each side. So all it's going to be is you're going to be here, and you're going to roll them back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we're going to go the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just relax. The reason that these are so important too is our shoulder blade positioning plays a major impact. It's very important on decreasing our risk of having any kind of shoulder injury. So once again, if our shoulder blade is not in the right position, whenever we do any kind of overhead reaching up here, it increases our chance of having a pinching pain in our shoulder. So just doing this simple exercise helps our shoulder blade get in the right position. So once again, we're going to go back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then just relax for a few seconds. Go forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and relax. And in between, you can make it 5 seconds in between each one if you want to. That's what I kind of recommend too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and relax. Now go the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? So that's going to bring us to our third one. This one is a chest stretch. A lot of times what we're looking at trying to do is to get our pecs, pec major, really stretched out, especially with us guys. We have a lot of rounded shoulders like this. When we get the rounded shoulders here, we get a tight lat muscle and we get tight pec muscles. Once again, the pecs are they're really important to keep these stretched out. Because if we're lifting up, if you have tight pec muscle and you have tight lat muscles, you're increasing your risk of your shoulder, your arm bone, going down and in this way and pinching on that tendon. So this one's going to be fairly simple. Once again, if you can see, make sure you got a good wide base of support. Slightly bend your knees. You're going to interlock your fingers, palms out, keep your elbows straight. You don't want to arch your back too much this direction when you do this. A lot of times your employees may try to do that with this stretch. You want to try to keep your back as straight as possible, and you're just going to come back this direction and squeeze your shoulder blades. And it's 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, and relax. Kind of shake it out a little bit. Do it again. Going to squeeze your shoulder blades together, bring your arms back. Count it again. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008. Shake it out a little bit again. And good base of support, bend the knees. Slightly bring the shoulder blades back, squeeze the blades together. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008. You can see when you're doing a stretch the importance of making sure you're doing the counting, because even with me, you can see how you want to kind of hold your breath when you're doing it. So once again, that's why I want you to make sure that your employees are counting so you can know the count, they're doing it correctly, but that they're also breathing. All right, the next one is going to be a lower back stretch. Now, this is the one that you want to really, really monitor, because sometimes if anybody may have some back issues, if you come into this position and you go back really quickly or go back too far, you may have an employee talk about pain in their back or pain in the leg. Which brings me to the other point when we're doing these. I know we talked about bouncing and form. You want to make sure when you're getting into the position that you do it controlled and smooth. You don't want to have anybody, for instance, doing this stretch and going way back real fast in that direction. That increases their risk of having an injury. So we want to make sure that you're doing this very, very smoothly and that your employees only go back to where they feel that stretch. So what it's going to look like is you're going to put your arms behind your back here, slightly bend the knees for a good base of support. You're going to keep that back straight, and you're just leaning back this way, and you should feel a good stretch almost here in the abdomen, and you'll feel a little stretch in your low back. And it's 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, and relax. I'm going to feel good after this. All right, so now I'm going to come back again, slightly bend the knees. And I always say slightly bend the knees because you got to be careful. If your employees lock their knees, it increases their chance of honestly passing out. So you want to make sure that they slightly bend the knees. Lean back, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, and relax. Hold it for about 5 seconds. Bring it back, slightly bend the knees, come back again. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, and relax. Like I said, this is the one you're going to have to watch. Sometimes if we get into a hurry, this is where I've seen people before come in and kind of really getting back doing that, and next thing you know, they're going to come, they can have back pain. All right, the next one that we have is a quadricep stretch, which is going to be stretching this area in here within the leg. It's important that we keep our quads stretched out because it plays a big role in how your kneecap moves. If you have a really tight quad, which is here, it's going to make this kneecap go to the inside more than it wants to. By doing that, you can start having pains on the top of your kneecap and develop tendinitis. So it's really, really important that we keep this stretched out. Now, when you do this, I would recommend if you have the opportunity to have a wall or a chair in front of your employees so that they can keep their balance. If balance becomes an issue, you don't have a wall or you don't have a chair, and the employee doesn't feel as though they can do it safely because they may not have the balance, and I would just tell them to not worry about this stretch. All it's going to be, you want to make sure, see if you can see me here, I have the wall in front of me. You're going to bend your knee, you're going to bring your leg back, making sure that your back stays straight. You don't want to lean your back whenever you're doing these stretches. You want to keep it as straight as possible with all of them. And you're just going to count out 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, and relax. Come over to the opposite side. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, and relax. Come over to the right side. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, and relax. Come back over. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008. That's 2, and we'll do 3, last one. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008. And last one. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008. All right, so we're more than halfway done. The next one we're going to do is a hamstring stretch. This is probably the one stretch that people ask me the most about. You want to make sure that your hamstring is definitely stretched out, because if you have a tight hamstring, it's going to affect the positioning of your pelvis, which can increase your risk of having any kind of low back pain as well. So when you do this, you want to make sure that your back is straight and that your knees are straight when you're doing it. So for instance, if I'm going to do the hamstring stretch, I want to make sure both of my knees are straight. I'm going to reach over and I'm going to do the left side. I'm going to keep my back straight, so I'm not going to move down like this. I want to make sure that my back is always in a neutral position. I'm going to lean into it here, and I'm going to start counting out. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008. All right, reach over, we're going to do the right side. Make sure that your knees are straight, leaning into it, keeping your back straight. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008. Come back over left side, straighten it out, lean forward, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008. Come back this direction, lean forward, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008. And last time. Make sure on this one, too, I recommend a wide base of support, so once again your employee feels as though they feel stable, that they're not going to fall. I'm going to come forward, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008. Last one, right side. Lean forward, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008. Okay, so now pretty much the last stretches we're going to work on are going to be the forearm and the hands. We've got 3 left. I will say when I look at the stretches on this last one of the stretches is a test that we use to kind of tease out if the patient may have carpal tunnel. So if you're starting to do any of these stretches and they start talking about numbness or tingling, once again, you need to make sure that they stop the stretch immediately. And if they continue to feel those pains that they need to, or tingling, that they need to go see their primary care doctor and get it checked out so that it doesn't get worse. The first one's going to be, this is what they call the prayer stretch. So you're going to make sure you're going to put your hands together, you're going to put your fingers up, palms together, elbows about 90 degrees, and just hold that stretch right there. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008. And relax. We're going to do it again. Fingers up, palms together, elbows at 90 degrees. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008. And relax. We're going to do it one more time. Okay, fingers up, palms together, elbows at 90 degrees. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, and relax. The next one is almost like it. You're going to keep your same palms and fingers together, but now all you're going to do is reverse the positioning of your fingers where they're going to point down this direction. Okay, keep your elbows at 90 degrees. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, and relax. Come back again. Remember, palms together. Flip the positioning. Elbows at 90 degrees. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008. Relax. And last but not least, fingers down. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, and relax. So, those two stretches are designed to make sure you're stretching the bottom half of your forearms. The next stretch is designed to make sure that you're stretching out the top half of your forearms. The reason that these stretches are important is that it can decrease your risk of having any kind of tendonitis in your wrist and even in your elbows. But the other thing that we want to make sure is that it can actually decrease your risk of having any kind of carpal tunnel because your muscles are stretched out and they're not pushing down onto the nerve. But at the same token, like I said, if the employee does any one of these stretches and feels any kind of numbness or tingling, you need to make sure that they stop, and that if it continues to happen when they do that motion, they see their primary care doctor. So last but not least, turn this way here. You're going to bring your elbows straight, point your fingers down, push your finger in, and count to 8. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008. And relax. Do the other side. Elbows straight, fingers down, gently stretch. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008. And relax. Come back over. Fingers down, pull in, elbows straight. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008. Relax. Flip back over. Elbows straight. Fingers down. Gently pull in. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008. Relax, flip over, elbows straight, fingers down, pull in. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008. And relax, flip over, fingers out, point them down, elbows straight, and 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1007, 1008. That was the last stretch that we have on the Stretch and Flex program. I know it's a little bit longer because I'm trying to explain form, which is going to be very important. The cadence is going to be very important. I'm also trying to explain what muscles that we're stretching out. Typically, it's not going to take that long to do. But you need to kind of experiment with it and find out ways that will make this more efficient. I know at first it's going to be, it may not be as efficient, but as you continue to do it, get it into a routine, you're going to become more efficient with it, more efficient. Just make sure you're doing it the right way. And once you get more efficient with it, you're doing it the right way, now you're making you and yourselves better because you're protecting yourself and your employees. So that concludes my presentation, unless there's any questions or...
Well, yes. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and end the recording. And so I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and we hope that this is going to help you to have a more successful program. I agree with Damon that initially I think these are going to take a little bit longer, but once we start getting into the rhythm of doing them, that it won't be an inefficient process. We can do it in the morning with our JSAs, get everybody involved, and hopefully reach our goal of 0 incidents.